Have you ever stopped for a moment and realized that the only life you've ever truly touched, the only breath you've ever truly lived, is the one happening right now? We often live lost in the memories of yesterday or the anxieties of tomorrow. But what if I told you that both past and future are illusions? That the only reality you can ever hold is this very moment. This is not just an idea from philosophy, it's the heart of Buddhist wisdom. And if you stay with me until the end, you'll see why the present moment is the doorway to liberation, peace, and awakening long before our modern world of noise and distraction. More than 2,500 years ago, a prince named Siddhartha Gautama walked away from a life of luxury. He had every comfort, every pleasure a man could want. But deep in his heart, he saw something that haunted him: the suffering of old age, the inevitability of sickness, the certainty of death. These truths shattered the illusions of his royal palace, and so he left behind his kingdom, his wealth, even his family, to search for the truth. He wandered through forests, studied with great teachers, and pushed his body to extremes of fasting and meditation. Yet still, the peace he sought eluded him. One night, beneath the Bodhi tree, he resolved not to rise until he had seen reality as it truly is. And there, in deep stillness, he awakened. He saw that life is impermanent, that clinging brings suffering, and that liberation is possible through awareness and compassion. From that moment on, he was known as the Buddha, the Awakened One. His teachings spread through India, carried by disciples and monks, and soon touched the hearts of kings and commoners alike. From ancient monasteries of Sri Lanka to the mountain temples of Tibet, from the bamboo groves of China to the gardens of Japan, Buddhism shaped not just spiritual lives, but entire cultures. The great emperors of history, such as Ashoka of India, embraced the teachings of non-violence and compassion, spreading Buddhism across vast lands without conquest, but with wisdom. In the ancient universities like Nalanda, monks debated philosophy, wrote scriptures, and welcomed seekers from every corner of the world. In the lives of figures like Bodhidharma, who carried Zen teachings to China, and great teachers like Nagarjuna, who explored the depths of emptiness, the wisdom of the Buddha grew richer and deeper through the centuries. And still, at the heart of it all was this one truth: reality is found only in the present moment, today. When we look at Buddhists around the world, their daily lives still carry this ancient flame. In monasteries, monks rise before dawn, their chants filling the air with vibrations of peace. They walk barefoot through villages, accepting offerings with humility, reminding people of generosity and simplicity. In temples across Thailand, Myanmar, and Cambodia, you will find golden statues of the Buddha radiating serenity, while lay practitioners bow their heads in devotion, light incense, and recite sutras. In Japan, Zen monks sit in silence for hours, facing bare walls, entering the stillness of the mind. In Tibetan traditions, colorful prayer flags flutter in the wind, carrying mantras of compassion to every corner of the earth. But Buddhism is not limited to rituals and ceremonies. Its practices are deeply practical, guiding us in how to live today. Mindfulness meditation teaches us to anchor the wandering mind, to rest it in the breath, in the step, in the heartbeat of the present. Loving kindness practice opens the heart, dissolving anger and fear, replacing them with compassion for all beings. Even in the busiest cities, people pause to breathe, to notice, to live in awareness and inheritance from teachings that began under a Bodhi tree so many centuries ago. At its core, Buddhism is not about worshiping a god or obeying blind commandments. It is about seeing clearly. It is about compassion that does not discriminate, kindness that does not seek reward, wisdom that does not cling to illusions. The Buddha's message was simple, yet profound. Suffering exists, but so does the path to its end. And that path begins here, in this moment, with this breath. Think of how much of our lives are wasted. We replay arguments from the past, as if turning them over in our minds could change them. We chase visions of the future, imagining happiness if only we had more wealth, more love, more recognition. But the Buddha reminded us, past and future are like dreams. They do not exist outside the mind. The present is the only place where we can love, where we can heal, where we can awaken. When you drink a cup of tea, do you taste it fully, or do you rush through it, thinking of your next task? When you walk in nature, do you see the leaves, the colors, the life around you? Or are you scrolling endlessly on your phone? To live mindfully is not to withdraw from the world, but to be fully alive in it. And so we ask, what does Buddhism mean for our modern world, full of technology, conflict, and stress? Perhaps more than ever, its relevance is clear. The science of mindfulness is now embraced by doctors, psychologists, and educators worldwide, showing its power to reduce stress, improve focus, and heal the mind. Leaders and activists draw upon Buddhist principles of compassion and nonviolence to solve problems of justice and peace. Artists and thinkers look to Buddhist philosophy for inspiration, finding beauty in impermanence, strength in letting go, and creativity in emptiness. In a world where we constantly feel disconnected from nature, from each other, from ourselves, Buddhism whispers a reminder: come back. come back to this breath. Come back to this moment. But perhaps the most profound gift of Buddhism is not just peace or compassion, but freedom. Freedom from the chains of attachment. Freedom from the endless cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. Freedom from the illusions of time. When you touch the present moment deeply, even for a second, you taste eternity. You see that the world is not broken, it is ever-changing, flowing, alive. You see that your true home is here, in this breath, in this step, in this smile. And so, as we close, I invite you to pause. Take a slow, deep breath. Feel it fill your lungs. Let it go. Notice this moment. It is already enough. It is already complete. The past cannot return. The future has not yet come. But this breath, this life, this now's the only reality. And in it, you can find peace. In it, you can find freedom. The Buddha's insight is not a distant philosophy. It is a living truth. A truth that whispers to us every time we slow down, every time we pay attention, every time we remember. The present moment is the only reality. After the Buddha's awakening beneath the Bodhi tree, his life transformed into a journey of teaching. For 45 years, he walked barefoot across the plains of India, meeting kings and beggars, merchants and farmers, monks and thieves. He spoke not in riddles meant only for scholars, but in words that could be understood by anyone's simple truths about life, suffering, and freedom. People were drawn to him not just by his wisdom, but by the peace and compassion that radiated from his very being. One of his earliest followers, Ananda, was not only his cousin, but also his devoted attendant. Ananda's memory was so sharp that he preserved the Buddha's discourses word for word, ensuring they would echo through the centuries. Then there was Mox Yapa, known for his deep meditation and insight, who became a symbol of discipline and inner strength. And of course, there was Mar Paj Patik, the Buddha's aunt and foster mother, who became the first ordained nun, showing that the path to enlightenment was open to women as well as men. These early disciples carried the Buddha's message outward like ripples on a still pond. As monasteries began to form, the Sangha, the community of monks and nuns, became a living embodiment of the teachings. The people supported them with food and shelter, and in return, the monks offered guidance, counsel, and blessings. It was a beautiful exchange, generosity flowing from the lay community, wisdom flowing from the monastics, all grounded in the spirit of interdependence. Centuries later, during the reign of Emperor Ashoka in India, Buddhism took a new turn. Once a fierce conqueror, Ashoka was transformed by the horrors of war. Struck with remorse, he embraced the teachings of nonviolence and compassion. Under his rule, Buddhism flourished, spreading beyond India to Sri Lanka, Central Asia, and far beyond. He built monasteries, carved edicts of kindness into stone pillars, and sent emissaries across the seas, ensuring that Dharma would reach lands he could never personally visit. From there, the Dharma traveled along the Silk Road, carried by traders and monks. It touched the deserts of Afghanistan, where giant statues of the Buddha once stood, carved into cliffs as guardians of wisdom. It reached the mountains of Tibet, where masters like Padmasambhava wove Buddhism together with local traditions, creating vibrant practices of mantra and meditation. It blossomed in China, where great teachers like Bodhidharma gave birth to Chan or Zen, a path of direct experience beyond words. And in Japan, Zen monks found enlightenment in simplicity ceremonies, gardens of stone, the sound of a single bell at dawn. Each land shaped Buddhism in its own way. Yet the essence remained the same: impermanence, compassion, awakening in the present moment. The lives of these figures, disciples, kings, teachers, were not just stories from the past. They were living examples of how truth transforms, how wisdom flows across generations, and how a single insight beneath a tree could change the course of human history. Today, more than 2,000 years after the Buddha's awakening, his presence is still felt in the daily rhythms of millions of lives. The simplicity of his teachings continues to echo in chants before sunrise, in the ringing of temple bells, and in the silence of meditation halls around the world. In small villages of Thailand and Myanmar, the day begins before dawn. Monks, wrapped in saffron robes, walk barefoot through the streets, holding their bowls with quiet dignity. They do not ask for food, but they receive whatever is given: rice, fruit, or even a handful of water. For the villagers, this offering is not charity, but a sacred act of generosity, a reminder that giving opens the heart. For the monks, it is a practice of humility and gratitude. Each side sustains the other, just as they did in the time of the Buddha. In temples across Sri Lanka, lay practitioners gather to recite the suttas. The air filled with chants that have been preserved in the ancient Pali language for centuries, each syllable carrying vibrations of peace. In Japan, Zen practitioners rise early, bow to the morning sun, and sit in stillness, facing a blank wall. In that silence, distractions fall away, and the mind gradually returns to its natural clarity. Rituals take many forms. In Tibet, colorful prayer flags flutter in the mountain winds, sending messages of compassion to all beings. Butter lamps burn in monasteries, symbolizing wisdom that dispels the darkness of ignorance. In Vietnam and Cambodia, families visit temples on full moon nights, lighting incense, bowing, and offering flowers to honor the Buddha's wisdom. Even in the bustling cities of the West, people gather in meditation centers, sitting cross-legged on cushions, breathing together in silence, carrying forward the same tradition that began beneath the Bodhi tree. But Buddhism is not confined to temples or monasteries. It is alive in the way people live their everyday lives. Parents teach their children the importance of kindness to animals, patience with others, and gratitude for each meal. Workers practice mindfulness in their tasks, whether cooking, farming, or teaching, reminding themselves that even the simplest actions can be filled with awareness. For many, meditation is no longer just a spiritual practice, but a way of finding balance in a busy world. The rhythm of Buddhist life is built on 3 timeless foundations: mindfulness, compassion, and simplicity. Mindfulness anchors the heart to the present moment, preventing it from being swept away by regret or fear. Compassion opens the heart toward others, dissolving the illusion of separation. And simplicity allows space for peace, teaching us that happiness is not found in possessions, but in freedom from clinging. Through these daily practices, Buddhists around the world keep alive the wisdom of their ancestors. Their rituals are not empty traditions, but doorways to awakening. Each chant, each bow, each mindful breath is a reminder. The Dharma is not locked in scriptures or distant temples. It is here, in this very moment, waiting for us to notice. At the very heart of Buddhism lies not just ritual or tradition, but living truths, principles that illuminate the path of every seeker. These principles are not abstract ideas. They are guides for how to live, how to love, and how to free ourselves from suffering. The first truth is compassion. In Buddhism, compassion is not pity or sympathy, it is the deep recognition that all beings, just like us, long for happiness and wish to be free from pain. Compassion is born when we see ourselves in others, when we understand that their suffering is not separate from our own. The Buddha himself showed compassion not only to kings and noblemen, but to outcasts, the poor, the sick, even to criminals. His heart was vast enough to embrace everyone without judgment. And he taught us that true freedom arises only when we learn to care not just for ourselves, but for all beings. Flowing from compassion is loving kindness, or met. Loving kindness is the simple yet profound wish. May all beings be happy. Imagine extending this wish not only to those we love, but also to strangers and even to those who have wronged us. Loving kindness softens the hardest parts of our hearts. It dissolves hatred, anger, and fear. When practiced daily, it changes the way we speak, the way we act, and the way we see the world. The Buddha compared it to a mother's love for her. Only child unshakable, boundless, unconditional. Another core teaching is mindfulness, the art of living in the present moment. The Buddha described mindfulness as a light in the darkness, illuminating reality just as it is. To be mindful is to see clearly the impermanence of all things, the constant flow of life. Feel each step to listen and truly hear without distraction. Through mindfulness, we discover that peace is not found in some distant future, but in this very breath, in this very heartbeat. Underlying all these principles is the deeper philosophy of Buddhism: impermanence, non-self, and interdependence. Impermanence reminds us that nothing lasts, neither joy nor sorrow, neither pain nor pleasure. And in this truth, there is both humility and freedom. Non-self teaches us that the I we cling to is an illusion, a bundle of changing thoughts, emotions, and sensations. We are not fixed beings. We are fluid, ever-changing, interconnected with everything around us. Interdependence reveals that nothing exists on its own. The tree depends on the soil, the rain, the sunlight. We too depend on countless others' parents, teachers, strangers who grow our food, build our homes, and heal our wounds. To recognize this interconnection is to awaken gratitude and responsibility. These principles are not meant to be locked away in philosophy books. They are meant to be lived. Compassion guides our hands to help. Loving kindness softens our voices. Mindfulness awakens our eyes to beauty. Impermanence teaches us to let go. Interdependence reminds us to give back. Together, they form a spiritual philosophy that does not separate heaven from earth, sacred from ordinary, but teaches us that enlightenment can be found in the way we breathe, the way we walk. The Buddha did not ask us to blindly believe, but to see for ourselves, to live with awareness, to test his teachings in the laboratory of our own lives. And if we do, we find that these principles are not relics of the past. They are keys to freedom, peace, and awakening, here and now. In today's world of constant movement, buzzing, phones, endless deadlines, and restless minds, Buddhism offers a sanctuary. Its wisdom, born beneath the Bodhi tree so many centuries ago, has found a place in our modern lives. Not just in monasteries, not just in temples, but in hospitals, classrooms, workplaces, and even in the digital spaces where people seek comfort and meaning. Science itself has confirmed what the Buddha taught. Mindfulness reduces stress, heals anxiety, strengthens focus, and nurtures compassion. Doctors prescribe meditation as medicine for the restless mind. Psychologists use loving-kindness practices to heal wounds of anger and fear. Teachers bring mindfulness into schools so that children can grow with clarity and kindness instead of confusion and pressure. Leaders look to Buddhist principles of nonviolence and compassion to guide decisions in times of conflict. Even artists, poets, and thinkers are touched by Buddhism's simplicity. They find beauty in impermanence, inspiration in silence, and strength in letting go. In a time when consumerism tells us that happiness is always somewhere else, in the next purchase, the next achievement, the next escape, Buddhism whispers a gentle reminder: happiness is here, now, in this breath, in this step, in this moment. And perhaps this is why Buddhism continues to speak so powerfully to our age. It does not ask us to worship blindly or to abandon our lives. It invites us to live more fully, more consciously, more lovingly. It teaches us that freedom is not found in running away from life, but in touching it deeply as it is. As we reflect on this journey from the ancient footsteps of Siddhartha beneath the Bodhi tree, through centuries of kings, monks, and teachers, to the rituals of today and the hearts of millions, the message is clear. The present moment is the only reality. The past cannot be changed. The future has not yet arrived. But this moment, this heartbeat, this awareness says, always within reach. And in this moment lies the seed of awakening. So, I invite you now, wherever you are, to pause, to feel the air filling your lungs, to notice the rise and fall of your breath, to let go of the weight of yesterday, the worries of tomorrow, and simply be here. This is the gift the Buddha gave us, a promise of some distant heaven, but the discovery of freedom right now, in the heart of the present moment. The world may change, empires may rise and fall, technologies may evolve, but this truth will never fade. The present moment is the only reality. To live in it is to live fully. To awaken to it is to be free.